Knowledge is power, or so they say. But what does knowledge truly encompass? Academia, writing, reading, or even presenting? Confucius, a Chinese philosopher, defined true knowledge as knowing what you do not know. At times, if we can recognize the gaps within our own knowledge, we'll develop ways to bridge them. The question is, how do these gaps even arise? The spread of misinformation, whether done intentionally or unintentionally, is an active contributor to this complex issue. To tackle this problem, we need to dissect its core power source: spin. Spin is the misinterpretation of study results to present information in a specific way, typically with the intention of spreading a certain view, belief, or even propaganda to the general public. Now, this becomes a large problem when most people don't actively seek out reputable scientific news. Take most Americans, for instance, who regularly get their science news from news outlets that cover a range of topics, often filled with spin. The problem expands when you consider the effects on various industries, especially healthcare. This begs the question, just how big of an impact can changing a few words have on the world? Well, we can take a look at a study conducted by Boutron et al., in which they sought to investigate the impact spin in health news stories has on a patient's understanding of a pharmacological treatment and its benefits. The researchers narrowed their question to 3 types of health news stories: preclinical or animal model-based studies, treatments on specific selectively chosen people, and treatments on randomized groups. The concept of spin in this situation was the exaggeration of the effectiveness of the treatment. They retrieved 900 patients and caregivers from Inspire, an online patient community, and categorized them into 3 groups of equal amounts. Each group read one type of news story, in which half of the patients read the story with spin, while the other half read the normal copy. They then answered how beneficial the treatment would be to patients on a scale of 0, or unlikely, to 10, very likely. The researchers also asked follow-up questions like the size of the potential benefit of the treatment, safety, whether it should be implemented in the short term, and the impact it will make in existing clinical practice. They found that participants had a higher average ranking for each of the types of health news stories with spin, evidently showcasing how spin can change one's interpretation of a treatment. It's truly outstanding to see how literature with spin, despite not being completely backed by evidence, can have such a drastic impact on a patient's beliefs. But how do these changes translate to implications on the healthcare system overall? Well, the healthcare system prioritizes 2 important values: the autonomy and competence of the patient. These values are crucial to uphold as they protect the rights and freedoms of the patient, all the while ensuring they receive the most safe, minimally invasive treatment. This also guarantees that patients have the right to refuse certain treatments. However, when there is a gap in the understanding of the treatment, these decisions can be far from the patient's true wishes. Moreover, the healthcare system is also built on the foundation of trust between experts like physicians and researchers and patients and their families. With this trust being at risk, advancements of new, future treatments are also in jeopardy. This only further widens the gap and connection between the scientific or research community and the general public. Unfortunately, we've seen countless times in the past renowned cases of this situation, especially in marginalized communities such as African Americans. In 1932, the United States Public Health Service initiated a study with the aim of investigating the history and prognosis of untreated syphilis. The participants were 600 Black men, of whom 399 were diagnosed with syphilis, while the remaining were not. The researchers informed the participants that they were being treated for a bad blood, a general, vague term that encompasses a multitude of disorders and diseases. They further provided an incentive of free medical exams, meals, and burial insurance, evidently displaying that this wasn't really a choice, but rather a means to justify a need. The study was ultimately deemed ethically unjust, and rightfully so, but has had everlasting implications on the trust between this community and the medical world. According to the Commonwealth Fund, in November of 2020, only 42% of Black Americans claimed to be willing to take a COVID-19 vaccine, most of whom having mixed feelings about the vaccine. Evidently, despite the academic evidence, misinformation can conduct active harm on the relationship between experts and the general public, especially in the healthcare field. That being said, as students of science and other fields, what actions can we take to prevent misinformation? What is our responsibility? Well, for one, we can adopt the reiterative nature of science in our day-to-day lives. Practicing inclusive traits of science communication and comprehension is essential. Avoiding jargon, focusing on the clarity of our work, and including context from different perspectives or individuals to cater to a wide variety of audiences is essential. Lastly, continuing to challenge the thoughts, findings, and ideas of ourselves and others through the literature we consume is a great way to seek validity. Conduct your own research and take the active step to be exposed to credible and educational content. After all, knowledge and science as a whole is a system that inevitably succumbs to change. Its dynamic qualities are what allows us to advance and leave a great impact. Moving, adjusting, and adapting to this change through our own diversity is our responsibility to keep up.